Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. Tonight, it's the Stars and Stripes Racing League, prepared to give you some more racing action with the Gen 4 cars. It's under the lights at Miami for the South Beach Bash as the drivers get set for 145 laps this evening. Practice is done, qualifying just got started, and we're prepared to give you all the action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth is going to be Zach Hall. And Zach, coming off of a very clean, dominant race by seeing Joshua Robinson running well and others come from Nashville Superspeedway, now come to Homestead, multi-group racing. We're excited for this one.
Oh, I am super excited, Sam. I tell you what, that's the biggest thing you bring up there is multi-group racing. And this track here at Homestead is always one of, I would say, as a broadcaster up here, and even as a driver myself, one of the favorite tracks out there on iRacing, because this is a track that, as you know, us racers would say, it's a little bit more racy. And what I mean by that is it just gives us more options. We can go out there and find the grip level because there's multiple grooves out there that do work. And it really allows you to move around this place. I think tonight we could see a top dominant track, but I do think you'll be able to make multiple grooves work. So I'm excited. I think this track and this car kind of fit perfectly hand to hand together.
And currently at this moment, it's the 99 of James Lowe that's taken the top spot after first laps being placed in by the majority of drivers. A little bit of a smaller field than what we've seen before, but still expecting aggressive racing. One of the main drivers to watch out for here for qualifying is the 7 of Kyle McCoy. McCoy has found himself getting the pole position 4 times out of the 6 past races here. So that 7 machine knows how to get it done as he's gotten the pole the last 4 races. Was James Lowe currently top of the board? The 6 of Chris Worrell also was hoping to maximize his speed, currently 4th after his 2 laps being done. And across the line for a lot of these drivers, again, trying to catch that 99 rookie of James Lowe, who's been stepping it up the last couple of weeks.
He really has, Sam. It's been impressive to watch, and we'll see if he gets a good starting position that he's holding on to right now and keeps it. He could be in position because a lot of these races, he's been kind of coming up through the field and gaining spots from his qualifying spot. So the start up front, that's always a bonus to have as we're checking out the 14 here, trying to put down his lap time here to see where it's going to place him on the track. Because currently Jonathan Woods is sitting 16th on the board. We'll see if there's a pickup, and it will take him up to the 12th position there. So a decent little pickup there for Jonathan Woods. But June White to the top of the board as I say that.
09, second lap going to be that of 18 thousandths of a second faster than the 09, and a very fast time for himself as other drivers starting on their final lap. The Joshua Altus going to be crossing the line, was 18th fastest, bounces up to 8th fastest is the 94. But I think of the biggest of notes, talked about Kyle McCoy being so fast and dominant here in qualifying. Not tonight. He is dropped now to 11th place for McCoy, so he's going to have a long night if he wants to find that same dominance that he's had here at Homestead, Miami before. And this track, what's interesting is under daytime conditions, expecting a lot of slipping and sliding. Nighttime conditions, going to be another factor we got to watch out for, as Andrew Hess, our champion from last season, 19th on the board after his first lap. How much pickup is going to be here with a minute left in qualifying?
Well, we saw our pole setters, currently pole setter, June White, gain a lot on that second lap. So we'll see if Andrew Hess can implement the same. And what I'm liking from Hess here, he's running the bottom of 3 and 4. And that's exactly what June White also is doing. I was watching some other drivers. They were venturing up towards that top side of the racetrack where others were flirting with the bottom. Looks like Hess will go up to the 10th position, but just not far enough other than what he'd like, because if just a little bit faster, he would have been much farther up because of just how close it is really from that 5th position on back to Hess.
And other drivers out on track trying to find that little bit of extra speed for themselves. You have the 24, going to be Brian Lynch, currently 17th on the board after the first lap, exited turn 4, maximizing the speed, trying to bounce it all the way out to that outside wall to keep the momentum and across the line. 17th was that first lap positioning, bounces to 11th for the 24 of Brian Lynch.
Great job by him, only 200ths off of last season's champion Andrew Hess. And look at that Ogle top practice sessions. He's going to top it here with a 32.76. That was a excellent lap. I mean, a whole 10th faster than the rest of the field. You rarely see that.
I mean, Zach, Thomas Ogle feels like he is finally getting back to that form that he had last season. Another pole position, making it now 3 in a row for the 11 machine, and his 3rd overall for the season. A great qualifying sound for Thomas Ogle late. He always waits until the track is at its coolest, put down the fastest lap time, and it works out here tonight as we get ready to take a look at our qualifying results for the South Beach Bash here at Homestead, Miami. Taking the pole position, Thomas Ogle in the 11. June White with the 09 going to be in 2nd, with James Lowe in 3rd. Ross Tatum in the 21, top in the point standings. Hope to have another solid, consistent day in 4th. Jason Gradden, who's been having a lot more speed and qualifying up front recently, going to be in 5th. Kyle Bowling, a former winner at this racetrack, going to be in 6th. 7th is Scott Rickard. Chris Whirlin, 8th. 9th is Joshua Altis, and Christian Lashin going to be taking that final 10th place position.
Last season's champion Andrew Hess going to start in the 11th position. Alongside him in 12th, it's going to be the 24, Brian Lynch. 13th position going to be held by Nate Lynch, longtime Homestead winner here. Kyle McCoy going to start back in 14th. 15th is going to be Zach Kreitz. 16th is going to go to the 20 of Derek Offerman. 17th position is going to be held by Jonathan Woods. 18th is going to go to the 55 of Sam Siegel. 19th is going to be Dylan Grimm, and rounding out the top 20 with a tough qualifying run here for Diego Valle.
In 21st position, the 5 machine of Trey Jackson going to be back in 21st spot. 22nd going to be George Kovsik in the 65 machine. 23rd place is the 4 of Aaron Hale. Ryan Lynch in 24th. James McRae 25th. 26th position goes to Brian Burchett and Brian Chu, finishing out our 27 drivers expected to race here tonight. Diego Valle going to be having a POL penalty, going to be starting at the end of the line, but Diego, certainly a driver that knows how to get it done. He won here last season, and expecting similar things to be seen by that 68. Could fuel mileage be a key, as tonight's race going to be extended from previous races in the past year at Homestead? Previous races used to be 133 laps. They're extending it by 12 laps. Now it's 145 laps. No stage break. And as well, Zach, they're going to be having 5 sets of tires in pit road, so extending the laps by a few and giving some more tires to work with here tonight.
More wiggle room for those drivers to work that strategy here tonight with those extra sets of tires. And you brought it up, Sam, about the fuel. I think that's what's going to be a good talking point tonight, because 145 laps here, these drivers normally in this Gen 4 car is around 45 to 46 laps at most mile-and-a-halves. If they can stretch it to 48 and 49, they can make this race in 2 stops. It's just going to be interesting to see who does it. We know drivers here at Stars and Stripes love to run the fuel dry, especially with these long green runs we usually have.
And for Diego Valle, the reason why I say, hey, don't count him out. Last season when he won here at Homestead, qualified 26th and got to victory lane. Could it happen again, or will it be one of the more consistent, more predictable drivers up front to get into victory lane? Thomas Ogle, also June White, side by side into the restart zone, and we're green for the South Beach Bash as they head down into turn number 1. It's all the 11 at Thomas Ogle.
Great start from that bottom lane, and we'll see quickly here what lane's preferred. Is this going to be June White fighting around that second groove around the outside here, quickly trying to jump to the lead?
Already going to be side by side for the lead. They're 3 wide back in the middle for battling for 8th place. But for the lead position, June White, better run on the outside lane and going to be taking the lead comfortably over the 11 machine. But what will the keys of the tires, the fuel, a lot of numbers are going to be calculated if we can keep this race clean and green. Tires in the early run going to be a focus on who's going to slip and slide as lap 1 goes the 09 of June White. And Thomas Ogle falls now to 3rd and maybe even go even further back now.
Ogle quickly dropping back here, but could this be a tire-saving mechanism for himself? We'll have to see. I mean, we've heard this car is not the hardest car to follow when it comes to these mile-and-a-halves. It seems to be much easier than previous cars, so giving up time can be makeable back up. But right now, definitely seeing him drop through the field as Rickard and Jason Gratton both trying to take advantage of this number 11 machine here dropping back early.
It's so bizarre to see his drivers all trying to get by Andrew Hess, who gets into the outside wall off the exit in turn number 4. Same for that of Joshua Altis. A lot of scattering in the middle of the pack for that 10th place position as Nate Lynch trying to move forward. And also in the thick of things here is Kyle McCoy trying to make his way forward as the rest of the field all scattering to move forward and crack the top 10.
This right here is the hornet's nest, as they would say. And Andrew Hess, our past season champion, right in it after getting into that wall. It really pushed him back into this mix. His Altis a little loose off 4 at, calls the 54, had the checkup, and now there's a checkup on the outside line. You see him stacking up here and spreading out as they fan out the run.
The exit at turn 4 has been a tricky spot. Watched a lot of drivers during practice trying to see how much throttle could they be giving off the exit of these corners without losing the rear end. And it happened quite a few times in the early portions of a run. And then later in a run, they started to see the swing really attack these rear ends. So drivers got to be patient. How do you protect the tires but also move forward? And other drivers just saying, I'm going to give up spots, head backwards, protect myself. That's what the 55 Sam Siegel is doing currently, as he's lost a couple of spots, but side by side with James McRae. McRae, another one of those drivers that maybe doesn't qualify well, but it's the end of the race for the 17. Finds himself up inside of the top 15 to top 10.
Always does a great job of gaining from where he starts, Sam. That's for sure about that 17 team there. Is you can clearly see ahead of him, there's a battle going on with those cars directly ahead of Derek Offman and Trey Jackson. And when you battle here, I mean, you got to use a little bit of tire. So seeing people in front of you battling, you love to see that feeling, because you know you're getting a little bit less work out of your tires compared to somebody who's really having to run their car a little bit differently due to becoming side by side through these corners. So it's interesting here in the early going, but showing here Homestead already 2 multiple grooves here, all the way at the very distinct bottom and all the way against the wall also.
And also in the middle, that third lane being utilized. And for the lead, those 2 lanes are being maximized currently, as June White outside lane and that of James Lowe inside lane. The 99 has been trying to find the better exit off the corners. The entry to the center of the corner has been all the 99, but it's been the center off where June White's been able to succeed on defending, but not that lap through turns 1 and 2. James Lowe wants that top spot, wants the lead of the lap, and June White falling into the clutches of second place, but could he be going even further back now? As look at the last lap, fastest driver on track. Give it to the 11 to Thomas Ogle. He gave up time, but it looks like the 11 has made the decision. 5 laps into this run, it's time to go forward again.
That it looks like, Sam. It's always interesting to see how long people will stay for and how much they really look to give up. But this top group here doesn't really look to be giving up too much pace, in my opinion. I think they're all trying to, just run as hard as they possibly can here. And with Lowe starting to pull a little bit of a couple car length gap there to White, we'll see what Scott Rickard does. We know how Rickard is. He is willing to go forward at all times during the race, already up 4 positions, so no surprise to see the 05 looking to go up the leaderboard.
Trying to move forward, trying to get another win, one of the most winning drivers in this series. This 05 has always been a threat at most tracks that we head towards, but could tonight be another chance to get into victory lane. He won back at Pocono. He's been trying to search to win at other 1.5-mile tracks. It's been a struggle. It's usually short tracks or at road courses where we see Scott Rickard really dominating at those runs. Here tonight, looking good to be inside of our top 5, but it's been the long run where the 05's been struggling a lot more. So we'll wait. We'll check back in about 10 laps if Scott Rickard's still in the fight for this top 3 position.
You're exactly right, Sam. That has been his Achilles heel this season. It's just he's shown a lot of pace. It's just not transferred over to those longer runs that we've seen in the past for Scott Rickard. I feel like that's been one of his strengths in the past, has been his long run speed. Just not so far this season, as he just went to the top of the wall and got a great run and was able to get to the inside. As we're looking back here from the 5th position of Jason Grattan, you can see that 05 going to make the pass on June White here and get clear. But will White have something for him coming off of 4? Don't think he will, as you're going to stay single file.
It just looks like that comfortability of gassing up and getting going off the exit of the corner is something that's going to be difficult. Just 11 laps in, 10 green flag laps already put down, and in those first 10 laps already have some big movers and big losers. Biggest losers, Joshua Altus already down 10 positions back in 19th spot. Some of the biggest movers, though, is James McRae up 7 positions back in 18th position. And then up in the top 10, Kyle McCoy already up 6 spots for himself. So a lot of, charging forward for some, others still decided to fall back. The most surprising driver of them all has to be last season's winner of this race, Diego Valle, Zach. He's currently 12 seconds back from our leaders, and his fastest lap that the 68's put down is a 33.7. That is almost a half a second slower than our leader's best laps. The 68 looks to be already thinking about the long run strategy call for himself.
I think this may even be more than thinking about tires. I think this right here maybe a thought about fuel. Again, that fuel window, this car seems like you can stretch it if you do a good active amount of saving. That active amount of saving also saves the tires, so usually your end of run pace is not too terribly off from what it would be, just due to how much off throttle time you get later in the run with the fall off of the tires. So fuel saving can be very beneficial in this car, especially if you can eliminate a pit stop. And from what I'm looking up from the group up front, I don't think any of them are thinking about fuel saving, because again, 45 to 46 seems to be about the window for these cars at the mile and a halfs. These guys are going to have to go at least 49 laps on one of the runs if they want to stretch it out to that 145 laps with only 2 stops.
Strategies are going to be thrown around for a lot of these drivers, and with us being 14 laps in, Zach, we're now pressing into that transitional phase. Drivers are being a little bit too aggressive. How are they going to be able to hold up, or are they going to fall backwards? The clutches of drivers that really were saving their tires in the initial point. I know that you run on Wednesday night, as we get to cover here on Freaking Fast Broadcasting on the WSSR series, and running this same vehicle. What is the tires kind of like at most mile and a half, Zach, and how is that translating for the drivers that are being aggressive, compared to those that are being patient?
This car is very interesting. I would put it's kind of a 3-phase car. That's kind of the way I look at it in my mindset as a driver. You can go out in the first 10 to 15 laps in this car and really put it down some blistering laps and really show some impressive pace that we're seeing from some of these guys so far. That first phase can be so critical, though, to what that second phase, which I call the middle part of the run, that second phase is kind of where some drivers will excel. Actually, that'll be their kind of beneficial point, because they've kind of backed up that first set of 15 laps. Then that next set of 15 laps works really well for them. Then the third phase is the final 15, which normally leads you out to the 45 full lap run. It's kind of crazy to watch how the car does change, but how you drive it in that first 15 laps can have a huge effect. It's hard once you get those tire temperatures up in the higher range to bring them back down. It's much easier to heat something up than to cool it down once you're out there racing at speed. So these drivers are definitely taking that into account and knowing we're 16 laps into this run, I still can't push to that full extent. Yeah, I still need to manage my stuff.
Those 3 different phases. How are they going to translate here on positioning, as you got Zach Reitz smashed in between 2 very strong drivers. Ross Tatum, currently our points leader. Andrew Hess, last season's champion. These drivers are battling for 10th, 11th, and 12th position currently, as Zach Reitz up 4 spots so far, qualified in 15th position, as the drivers still thinking, oh, maybe it's a little bit too far to be thinking about playoffs, but we are inside of that second half of the regular season. And Zach, for this field, certainly always a question of who's going to make the top 12 and run for a championship, because there's so many high flyer drivers that we know could be major threats. Kyle Bowling, a driver that's made the Final Four many a times in the past, but yet to get the championship that I feel like is in his fingertips almost every season.
It's definitely been close multiple times for sure. He's had the experience of getting there, and that experience can add up. And, you know, if he keeps getting back there, at some point, it's going to come back around and be his day to pull off, you know, that championship, so to say. So it's fun to watch, because I think with this group here, 12 drivers making that, that playoff run, that's tough to do, man. With 12, the top 12 drivers here you're putting yourself into a pretty much a position where you have to have a very, very clean regular season to get in, or at least hope you've had some wins to help push yourself in. So it's just showing you the competition level of this league, and being in the top 12 is definitely an honor to have, just making it.
Yeah, that it certainly is. A lot of the drivers that we always note on as being fast drivers to watch out for are inside of the top 12 currently. Thomas Ogle, the only driver that's got a win outside of the top 12. He's 15th, and he would be bouncing out with Joshua Altus, who comes into the night 12th in points. The one surprise that's inside of our point standings is Brian Chu. Consistency has been really helping the 18, who's got 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, who is currently that of 9th in points. So needs to stay in that consistent realm, as our points leader, Ross Tatum, right on the back bumper of Dylan Grimm. Grimm, another driver who's made it far in the playoffs in the past, and hoping to find some of that old magic to make it into the playoffs this season, as he's 14th in points.
Drivers right here surging forward, a few of them. Grimm with that 8 positions up from the start here. That's great for him. But Ross Tatum here 8 down, and then even back here to Zach Kreitz. Just multiple drivers have gained and lost, but I think a few are definitely playing the strategy card here. For someone like Ross Tatum to lose 8 positions, in my opinion, I think he's looking for maybe stretching out the fuel. And if he can do it where, Diego Valle is 16 seconds back, Ross Tatum's only 6 seconds back from the leader. So, saving fuel and trying to make a fuel strategy work out, you still have to make good time and be efficient with it. Because if you give up too much, that one less pit stop is not going to matter at all.
Looking at how these drivers are running under this stand, it might be the drivers that are being aggressive that are having the better advantage currently in the short run. Again, big picture, once pit stops happen, that's going to give us a better showing of how these strategies are going to line up for later on in this race. But Thomas Ogle gave up time, looked like he was willing to get aggressive, but once Jason Grad caught up, he has really been backing off the pace, which now gives Kyle Bowling an opportunity trying to make the pass on the outside for 5th position on the 11 machine. And Kyle Bowling, winner of the Season 5 race here at Homestead, where they only had 1 caution, and that's been the kind of consistency here at Homestead. Usually there's at least 1 caution that pops up during the race. Up to 4 was the most ever, and that was back in Season 2. But here tonight, could we have one of those races that Stars and Stripes has started to get known for, of us staying green all the way through?
They're definitely known for it. That's for sure, Sam. These guys are very good at keeping it clean and green. And here's Ogle, like you said, going backwards. 6th position now for him and down 5 from where he started on that pole position. Very surprised to see him drop back. But Chris Worrell, another solid run coming for him in the 6th team. So great job by him as he's up 1 spot from where he started. I'm sure he'll be looking to maybe break to the top 5 here in the next few moments if he can get around Ogle and try to get up to Bowling.
Chris Worrell finished 2nd last week at Nashville Super Speedway. Coming into this race, he's had 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s, and the other top 5 was at Daytona at the start of the season. So 6, hoping that he can carry on some of that good momentum, as it's either been finish inside of the top 10 or around that top 15 position. So this 6 machine, we find a little bit more consistency of just stay in the top 10 for each and every race moving forward. And currently in the 7th place position, not bad, as he's got a very quick driver behind him who's trying to do a recovery mode. Kyle McCoy in 8th position, started all the way back in 14th. A very uncharacteristic qualifying time for the 7, but this season seems to be kind of uncharacteristic to Kyle McCoy. He's been fast at moments, but it's always the end of the regular season when it seems like he just finds that extra gear that puts him into the championship favorite column. And here tonight, up to 8th place currently.
It looks to be struggling just a little bit with that rear end of that car. And normally that's where, when it's, that rear end stepping out, that's where Kyle McCoy shines. I think the issue, I've been watching a lot of him this race and just checking out on the 7, I think he's been running the top side a lot. And I just looking at James Lowe, that driver keeps it right on the white line all the way around this track and has a very late exit. This Homestead track recently, with some update changes over time that iRacing has brought with the grip levels, that very bottom lane, and especially a very low exit, gives you that ability to straighten that wheel out much earlier than that higher exit near the wall, and it allows you to get the power down. So I think Lowe has got that really figured out. I mean, he is much quicker than anybody. The only driver that's really even close to him on lap times and a little bit quicker is Kyle Bowling. So I think these drivers, as you see, McCoy's now gone to the bottom. I think they're learning that this bottom lane might have been the place to go from the start, because that outside lane can just chew the tires up.
It was good in those first 10 laps, but it's faded away as we have been clean and green for 27 laps as we're on lap 28. It's been a pleasure to watch these drivers so far. I want to give a shout out to the amazing sponsors here at the Stars and Stripes Racing League that help us be able to broadcast week in and week out. Just get to watch the battling going on for 17th position. And we start our sponsors. Thank you to ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Go head over to ButtKicker.com to go check out the gamer too. Instead of just hearing the sounds, why not feel the sounds? Get more immersed into what you're watching or playing with getting a ButtKicker. Thank you so much to ButtKicker for being one of the major sponsors. And you might be wondering, what do you attach to your gamer to ButtKicker to? Well, you'll need a racing rig. And if you're looking for helping in your budget or even maximizing on having one of the best rigs out there, head over to nextlevelracing.com to check out the wide variety of racing rigs that you can purchase. As a huge thanks to both of those major sponsors that help out here at the Stars and Stripes Racing League, all sponsors that help out all the leagues that we get to cover in major thank you to them all, as it allows us as the broadcast team to hop in and watch these leagues, and it also helps out the drivers with incentives, prizes, and also just helping get the names out for these leagues and drivers. James Lowe still running all the way up front. If you're just joining us, well, we've been clean and green 30 laps in. James Lowe took the lead and never looked back. Pole sitter was Thomas Ogle. And we got we got a lot of different strategies going out, with that of saving fuel. Some were saving tires. Others are just going out and being full bore aggressive. And it's put us into this situation where we got separate pods, drivers with similar mentalities running with one another. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth is Zach Call, Robert Warrior Junior Ride Productions in the background. I mean, Zach's currently 31 laps in. James Lowe is looking solid, but everyone else, like I said, these little pockets starting to show some more aggression recently. And as we're about 10 to 15 laps away from our first pit stops, it's going to make things even more dramatic.
It is getting near that time, Sam, for sure. And now we're watching Aaron Hale here try to work over Derek Hoffman for this 17th position, as these guys have been battling back here pretty hard. There's a driver I've been kind of watching and keeping on my radar, and that driver, I'd have to say, is up in the second position now, of Kyle Bowling. It's been here and there. He's been the quickest car on the racetrack, and really the only driver that's been able to match James Lowe. Everybody else is really starting to struggle. Guys like Scott Rickard, I mean, last time by a 35.29 to a leader's 34.55. So it's showing you these guys are starting to hit a wall. And if you are looking to do a 3-stop strategy instead of the 2-stop strategy here tonight, you're going to be looking to hit pit road here in the next 5 laps. So we could see pit road get busy very soon, and some people are starting to struggle. So I wouldn't be surprised with it.
Wouldn't be surprised either about it, especially with these drivers. Again, you got to see it during practice. The rear ends just were not happy for those that were going for a long run. But a shocking call over the radio. Kyle McCoy thinking about coming into pit road already now, Zach. Just 33 laps in, a shocking call under the radio. And this is going to be forcing a lot of drivers to think, do we need to make an extra stop instead of pushing it out as far as we can?
Yeah, this is early. He's still in the range to make it on a 3-stop if he's just going to stretch out his next runs here a little bit farther, because it's right at the 36 marker. We're breaking it down into 3 stops. So he'll have to stretch it out by 3 laps here on the next 2 runs. So he'll have to somewhere add that in, but he was really struggling, Sam. He was starting to fall into the 35-second bracket, and I think once you get there, that's where you're almost a half second slower than the leader. You kind of got to come down, and hopefully he's learned enough in that first 34 laps to change his driving style to maybe fix that tire wear, because I think that's what has caught a little people off, is just running maybe the wrong line.
Well, with this race being 145 laps in distance, there is no stage breaks like we see in other series that we cover throughout the week here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. So this race could technically have no yellow flags thrown here tonight if we stay clean and green. But with the drivers making those early pit stops, going to be causing some different thoughts and mentalities. Do we want to change things up after watching Kyle McCoy come to pit road? Others, it's time to finally gas it up and show your strengths. Jason Gratton, qualified 5th, has been in 5th position, but finally showing signs in life that he's got a chance to be battling with their front, that of 4th and 3rd, and trying to get by June White, Scott Rickard.
So impressive to see this 8 machine. Great drive for him. I mean, he was methodical. He did not really go out there and put blistering lap times down, and it's showing. I mean, him and Kyle Bowling pretty much in the same boat, in my opinion, with the way they opened up this first run, and it's really starting to show at their pace. And we'll see if he can make a quick move around this 09, but the 09 was smart there. He was running the top. He saw the 8 coming. He's like, I got to get back down to that bottom groove and take this line away, because this is where the 8 is making time. And that's just going to make it a little bit harder for Jason Gratton to try to set this up. But again, I think pit road here in 3 laps will be super busy, with most people pitting right around the 40 mark.
Another driver into pit road, going to be Brian Lynch in the 24, who qualified extremely well here this evening, and Aaron Hale coming into pit road. It's going to be 3 drivers so far that have made a pit stop. Over the radio, Zach Kreitz informing that he's thinking about coming into pit road for himself. So drivers a lot more antsy now as we're inching closer and closer to lap 40. When to make this pit stop, as Jason Gratton, as well as June White, having their different points on where to place themselves. And you know, we talked about how this racetrack, so many different lanes to utilize, where to search. And it's always curious when you see drivers searching for that extra speed. Do you always follow the driver in front of you? Do you go where the clean air is at? And those decisions that you have to make as a driver, and if you have a live spotter, trying to give you that information on how to adjust on the fly.
It can be so critical, Sam. I tell you what, just your lane choice and how you pick to run behind a driver can make the world of a difference when it comes to trying to pass somebody. I mean, Jason Grattan ran right up to the back bumper of Gene White. As soon as Gene White got to the bottom, even though these cars aren't too aerodynamic dependent, just taking that line away is taking the ability of Jason Grattan to get by him away. So it's done a good job, and sometimes as a driver, you just got to mirror drive.
Trying to mirror drives for on board with Tom Sogel. He's getting to see all the different lanes being utilized, and here comes the drivers that have already made a pit stop. Kyle McCoy showing the absolute blistering pace of when you get fresh rubber. You can blink and he was gone through the corner there for the 7, getting by these lap cars. I mean, these lead lap drivers trying to unlap himself the manual way. As other drivers that have come into pit road, James McRae, Brian Chu, still have our top 22 drivers having to come into pit road. But already, massive change in the aggression for Kyle McCoy, wanting to get as much as he can on this undercut. That's pitting before all the drivers in front of you is what we give the term of an undercut. You're trying to get those advantages with fresh rubber, gain time, but it might hurt you in the long run. But currently the 7 maximizing his speed and just a few laps away from unlapping himself.
We'll see what it does to his tires here, because running some of his fastest times he's ran all race here. But the track has cooled down a little bit from where we started. It is getting later into the night. There's more rubber on the track, so tire wear will get better as rubber lays down. It makes this track less abrasive as you see Trey Jackson coming into his box for his pit stop. But it's going to be a huge undercut, Sam. He's going to have the lead when it transfers to you, but we're going to get to see that reverse of him flying through the field when James Lowe comes to pit road, because Lowe's going to catch him with much fresher tires and most likely have a very easy pass on Kyle McCoy.
James Lowe in the center of 1 and 2, exiting at 2, and you can see that pink bumper of Kyle McCoy slowly chipping away. You touched on it though, the rubber on the track. This was something that I noticed kind of interesting when I was looking at the session, because this race is slightly different from how the races have been ran in the past, with the extra tire sets that the drivers could have in pit road to work with here tonight, the extra laps as well that they're running. Is the track usage coming into the night. That's how much rubber has been already put into the track. When they started practice in the session, it was already at 51% usage rate. Curious on how that's also going to affect these drivers throughout the night, because that usage rate just continued to compile on top of one another through practice, qualifying, and now 43 laps into this race.
It's always interesting to see when you have, a starting off track with a certain amount of rubber on it. And this is a question as pit road has gotten super busy with, I think, Bowling, multiple other drivers coming down here. Ogle also coming off pit road. But I would love to get to into an iRacing developer's mind just to ask about the rubber settings, because, you get that broad number of 51%, but that 51% doesn't tell you where that rubber is located. Does it spread 51% across the whole surface? Does it put it in certain spots where the racing groove is? So that can have a different effect on where the rubber's at on the racetrack. So that's always one thing I've been interested with. You start with pre-applied rubber on the racetrack instead of just a clean track that naturally lays rubber. As you see Lowe coming to pit road, it's always interesting to see how rubber changes it, and that can have a huge effect, Sam.
How does it develop? How does it change? James Lowe into pit road. Scott Rickard following in suit, and it's June White that will take the lead position heading down into turn number 1. That's Kyle Bowling trying to unlap himself and get back onto the lead lap. And for Dylan Grimm, Christian Loschin, Ross Tatum, and many of others, when will they think about hitting pit road? As Chris Whirl into pit road for the 6th machine, joining with Scott Rickard and Lowe. And now we have around that of 15 to 14 drivers that still need to come into pit road, and it's just going to get more and more busy as this run continues on. The first pit stop of the night with 100 laps to go. And we're expecting at least one more pit stop, maybe even 2 if it has to be a splash and go late. If they can't save enough fuel, which that's what the rest of the field's trying to go for, got to turn this race from a three stop to a 2 stop here tonight. And Zach, currently I'm looking at the drivers that were really backing off on their pace. Diego Valle still out on track, but June White, his teammate, has the better running with the better room to try to save fuel now.
It's so impressive to see what June White's done. Is he's coming down here on 46. That's not enough to get it done with a 2 stop, but still nonetheless staying out long. It's going to have a big advantage on tires. The person that I'm interested in really here is Ross Tatum. He really backed up the very beginning of this run. If he can stretch it 48 or 49 laps here on this run, it's going to make it much easier for him later in the race. Let's see what this 21 can do. If he can make one less stop, he was not too far off, such as where Valle was 24 seconds almost off the lead.
And also other drivers that are stretching it out a little bit further. Zach Kreitz, but I don't think Zach Kreitz is going to hit that magic number we were circling, as the 46 is going to have to hit pit road this go around. As 46 hits pit road, Joshua Altus has been quiet over the radio, expecting for him to stay out for an extra lap. But like I said, the ultimate distance of how far back you are compared to one another seems to be the difficult thing to push forward. As we hop on board with our current leader of Ross Tatum, when will the 21 hit pit road? Because this seems to be his strategy after winning the first 2 races of the season. He's been willing to make these very oddball strategies of saving fuels, extending as far as he can, and open to get into victory lane with this strategy call.
And he's going to go around for another lap, Sam. This is an ominous sign for the field here, as you can see on the onboard. Going to clutch that car, going to coast into the corner, save as much fuel as possible. And see, as soon as he lets go out of that clutch, the car just starts to rotate. It's actually pretty violent in this race car, especially in this Gen 4 car. When you release the clutch, saving fuel, it can kind of catch you off guard there. But Ross has done a great job. And look, he's going to complete 49 laps this time by. You got to forget or remember he had a pace lap out. And also, with him going 49 this time, he only has to go 48 2 more times after this, and he can make the 2-stop work. So Ross is now in a perfect position.
In a perfect position, and behind him is also going to be Joshua Altus, who's still out on track. Will he try to extend it an extra lap? Will not. Pit road for the 40 for that of the 94 machine, and now who has the better strategy? Is it those that stayed out as long as possible? Was it Kyle McCoy that stretched it out and pitted it so much earlier than everyone else? Or could it be Kyle Bowling, James Lowe that are playing the very similar middle ground? Is it which strategy call will be the winning one? We'll find out. 50 laps in, pit cycle is finished, and we will take our first official commercial break of the evening. Thank you for being with us here on Thursday night for the Stars and Stripes Racing League. In tonight's race, it is the South Beach Bash at Homestead, Miami. It's been a good one. We'll be back right after this. They're 5 wide behind for fifth.
Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. They make it last, bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. That's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes. I know Carter gets wrecked. It's gonna be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity diving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes, Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck him.
Oh, they wrecked. They wrecked each other. The top 2 bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they got to be careful. Oh no, the 4 demolishes into 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting, giving you the coverage of the Stars and Stripes Racing League. Tonight, it's Season 7, race number 8 at the South Beach Bash at Homestead, Miami. We've been clean and green, 57 laps in, and James Lowe has already made the pass by Kyle McCoy, who's doing the undercut strategy, pitting sooner than anyone else, and hoping he could build up a big enough lead to stay ahead of everyone. Well, it didn't work out on this first stint. We'll see if it works on the second, as Kyle Bowling as well has gotten by McCoy. Other drivers trying completely different strategies, saving fuel, trying to cut away a complete pit stop. Ross Tatum, one of those. He's already up to 15th position and 20 seconds off of our leader, James Lowe. And it is certainly multitudes of different strategy calls, and we'll have to wait and see after the next pit stop on who's in the better standpoint on winning tonight at, again, the South Beach Bash at Homestead, Miami. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr. Writing Productions in the background here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Zach, this race, certainly it's now a strategy race on who's been saving fuel or tires. It's looking good for Lowe, but Ross Tatum looks to be in the best picture right now.
Oh, he definitely does seem to be in the best picture. The thing that Ross needs to do is just make sure not to give up too major amount of time. Like that, a pit stop here, you're going to lose a lap for sure to people that don't pit. So Ross should net out of this, I'd say at least when it comes down to in a 15, maybe 20-second lead. When things really start to cycle through us, Grattan holding on to it there in front of Scott Ricker. Luckily holds on as those two are battling for the 4th and 5th position, but it's going to be a sizable lead when Ross gets that lead. So it's going to be fun to see when it comes down to the end. We're just got to wait and see how it all shakes out from there, because if he does give up too much time, that gap won't be big enough to hold back the new tires. So it's going to be the thing we got to watch. But these drivers here, they're just focused on making lap time right now, because they know it's just green flag for right now.
Green flag for now, as we have lost one driver, being Trey Jackson. Back on lap 46, got loose off the exited turn 2, piled into the inside wall, and had to putter his way into pit road, deciding just to call it a night for the way this race has been staying green. And Trey Jackson, we're expecting big things next week for these drivers, as right now, James Lowe leading the way. But looking at other drivers have been moving up through the field. Small movements, but at least staying in the top 10. Chris Worrell in the 6th machine, up 2 spots before he qualified in 8th position. And already a solid night for the 6th, you could say. But Thomas Ogle losing quite a few spots. Got the pole back to 7th position. And his strategy call kind of puzzling on the way we've been seeing this race run out so far.
It really kind of is. I'm kind of shocked and surprised by more or less his speed. And I mean, I thought Ogle would have some great long run speed. It really seemed like he was coming into his own this season, especially after sitting on a pole there. But sometimes you just can't match the speed that you had there in qualifying, and your race pace just doesn't go along with it. So we'll see if Ogle can make something of this. But right here is June White, and he's running down this group up ahead of him because he's on these fresher tires, and he's in an interesting position, Sam, here, pitting on lap 46 for himself. So he got 46 completed. So he was 3 short of what Ross Tatum did. That means he would have to add those 3 laps in there somewhere at some point in these next 2 runs here. I just don't know if you can save that much fuel here this late without giving up major amounts of time.
How much time is it willing to give up? And the next couple of races is going to be some good ones, as next week the drivers head to Kentucky. Then in 2 weeks, we'll be heading to Japan for Twin Ring Motegi, where we got to see Twin Ring Motegi utilized in other leagues last season, earlier this year, and certainly was an interesting track. It's Japan's take on Darlington Speedway, so cannot wait for that in 2 weeks for these drivers. And also next week, being at Kentucky known for giving some great racing action. And then in 3 weeks, let the chaos reign, heading to Martinsville before we get into the last couple of races before the playoffs start.
Martinsville, it looms, that's for sure, before those playoffs. And you know how this car is with the bumper. That track could be very wild for sure, and you never know what you'll get when you head to the paper clip. As Kyle McCoy, now this undercut strategy slipping back into the clutches here of Jason Grattan. and Chris Worrell, and I mean they're upwards of almost 4/10, almost to a half a second faster than McCoy. So these two battling, yeah, that's nice that they're battling each other here, but they're going to be quickly on the back bumper. The 7 and the 6 is not going to want to get held up here because he's trying to make this pass and go forward with a little bit fresher tires than that 8.
And when pit stop started for that of Kyle McCoy, and remember he was starting to fall back, but he was in the 8th place position before he came into pit road. So giving up time, hoping to have a net gain, currently does have it in 4th place. But we see Kyle McCoy fall outside of our top 8 before he has to come into pit road again in the next, imagine, 5 to 10 laps, maybe even further than that for the 7 with the way his strategy call was, pitting extremely early compared to the rest of the field. We'll see how Kyle McCoy can hold off as Worrell, Grattan almost 3 wide as Worrell will follow the 8 machine onto the front stretch trying to make the pass. To climb inside of the top 5 is Chris Worrell in the 6 as Grattan kind of using this situation trying to hold back the 6 machine in the center of the corner.
He definitely checked that center up, and you know, Grattan was really, really strong at the very, very end of the run as Worrell. Man, hands full there off of 2. That's actually going to open the door now for McCoy to dive to the inside. And the 6 is going to be saying, man, I was just thinking about making a pass on the 8. Now I'm under attack from the number 7. So we'll see if he can get the run off the corner. Is this grouping of numbers here, 8, 6, and 7, they're sticking together.
They certainly are. Going to be hoping that we don't see these drivers get into too much chaos for themselves as they're battling for 4th, 5th, and 6th place. The grouping of numbers certainly always fun when you see them line up perfectly, as 24 Brian Lynch qualified up inside of the 12th position, but the run has just not been there for the 24, who was a lap down, being passed by this grouping, and to line up and get moving for themselves as up front, all that of James Lowe, but you look through the rest of the field, certainly they're trying to survive as the 99 is looking nice and clean up front for himself on lap 69. And I mean, Zach, you look at James Lowe, he had the speed, the momentum last week where you thought he was a major contender to potentially win and try to take the race away from that of Joshua Robinson. Tonight, there is no one who's looking even close to beat him out. Kyle Bowling looks strong in the long run, but it could come down to strategy once again that hurts this 99.
You're exactly right, because I mean that's his worst enemy right now. He is lights out the fastest car when it comes down to race pace. But if you got to make an extra pit stop, sometimes other drivers are able to do the race faster with one less stop, and I think that's what Ross Tatum is going to try to spoil and do here late in this race. We'll have to see if it gets to that point here and we stay green. But watching Zach Kreitz here currently, he was able to get around Aaron Hell there and push himself up to the 14th position, and a little bit fresher tires there for Kreitz, so about 11 laps fresher actually than Aaron Hell, and 2 laps fresher than Nate Lynch, who is about 4 seconds up the road from him. So Kreitz has got some work to do here to get up to 13th.
Trying to move up to 13th. Nate Lynch just holding steady for where he qualified. 13th position, staying in 13th. Watching Ross Tatum blitz his way forward. And Ross Tatum, when he made that pit stop, he was all the way back around 20, I believe 26, almost 27 seconds off of our leader. Well, in the past 21 laps, he has climbed that down to just 17.8 seconds, almost a full 10 seconds under this run, and trying to save fuel to cut away a full pit stop. The numbers look to be lining up as we're closing to now the halfway marker for this field. It's all coming down to, can this race stay green for Ross Tatum's strategy to work out, as there has been no race in the past. As Homestead is one of the few races that have ran in every single season here for the Stars and Stripes, as we're currently in season 7, and there's been no race that has gone caution-free. There's been a multitudes of races that have had 1 caution or 2, but the most cautions in a race was 4. Tonight seems to be one of those classic Stars and Stripes races, though, Zach. You just have a sense it's coming down to strategy unless someone really struggles and has a mental lapse later on in this race.
And that's a tough thing to do, the strategy that Ross Tatum's doing, unless you have confidence in the league, in the drivers around you to keep it green. And that's what Ross is, right from the drop of the green flag, he had that mindset that, hey, I got to save fuel here. And I've watched him for a good bit of laps. I'll check in on him every now and then. And he is still every single lap clutching heading into the corner. I'm thinking in my mindset here, if he can stretch it another 49, that allows him to go 47 to the end. And that makes it where he's got to save much less fuel and he can go much faster and have actually something maybe to, open a gap up and kind of gain on those leaders the gap that he gave away early in this race. So he may be looking to do that, but he may also, again, stretch at 48 and then stretch at 48 to the very end. So he might split down the middle, but if he can go that extra lap like he did the first time, that does give him, again, another mile and a half of wiggle room to save less fuel.
One driver that we know 100% going for the 3-stop strategy. Kyle McCoy just finished up his pit stop. This run a little bit longer than his first initial stint. I think he protected his tires a lot better. Headed when he was in 6th position. So there is slight net gains that Kyle McCoy is making with these undercut calls. I don't think it's a winning strategy, but certainly, like we kind of talked about, net gain, where you're trying to just get a better advantage from what your original strategy could have been placing you.
Definitely a net gain for him, because just even looking at lap times wise, I mean, he could only go 33 laps last time, and he was in the 35-second bracket. That last time he went 40 laps there and never hit a, really other than one 35-second lap time. It was all 34.8s and 34.9s to end that run. So was doing a very good job of being much, much more consistent and did a better job. And sometimes just getting that clean track and just the learning that you did through that first 33 laps of a race can help you change your tire wear. And Kyle McCoy, a good enough driver to definitely take a lot of lessons from that first run to improve his positioning. So we'll see again a little bit of the undercut, of course, here again for him. We'll see if that gets a little bit of another net gain, because if anything, if he can end up with the top 5, that's a huge win for him when he was about 8th before that first pit stop.
Other drivers aiming for a lap 90 to 92. Some trying to aim for 93 to be their pit stop window when to come into pit road for the majority of the drivers inside of our top 19. They still all need to make a pit stop for themselves. Aaron Hale's another driver that's already made a pit stop. And Brian Chu, this last lap for the 18, has now made his stop as he's on the back bumper trying to get by Jason Grattan. As Grattan still, the rear end is not looking happy on this run. You always got to hold your breath when you've got that fresh rubber closing in on someone else that's looked like the handling's drifting away, and hoping that you don't get caught up in their mess.
You run up on them so fast, it's so easy to run right in the back of them. And we've seen what rear contact does with this car from front bumper to rear. It is pretty much a guaranteed wreck at that point as you scoop them up and move them out the way. So the closing rates are tough when you have these fresh tires. You can see Kyle McCoy, I mean, it's just literally like the 8's tied to a pole there. I mean, he's literally crawling around the racetrack while the 7 is, upwards of 20, 30 mile an hour faster around these corners. So it makes it very sketchy, and it makes these times right here the most risky time where you could see a yellow happen.
As this run continues on, other drivers that are battling for position. Currently, the battle for 6th place of June White, Thomas Ogle is closing in on one another, as the 11's been trying to poke the nose, trying to get under the 09, but June White with 4-lap fresher tires. Yes, we're into the longer run, and if June White hasn't protected those tires, it's keeping this battle as close as it is, expecting White, though, to try to pull away and not have to worry about that distance. But a driver I'm surprised about on how their tires have not been as consistent, Kyle Bowling. Again, we talked about under the first 40 laps of this race, the 44 looked to be the stronger long-distance driver. Was really protecting the tires, was moving forward quickly. He has not been as efficient, it looks like, on this run, as the gap is ballooned out to 4 seconds between that of James Lowe and Kyle Bowling from 1st to 2nd.
Just not able to replicate what he did in that first run. I mean, 2-lap older tires this time as he pit, 2 laps earlier than James Lowe to, undercut him and gain the time. But that undercut just hasn't played out. I mean, 4 seconds back from Lowe. It's they're going to need some help to catch that 99, because that man is really, really consistent and flying at the end of runs. I mean, 34.67. There's nobody within even 2/10 almost there is Bowling. Like it's not even close right now. So the 99 is doing exactly what he needs to out front.
Doing exactly what he needs to do up front. And thank you for joining with us, ladies and gentlemen, to be watching the Stars and Stripes Racing League here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Pit stops are about to flood in quickly in the next 5 to 8 laps. I want to say thank you again for joining with us, and letting us enjoy the racing coverage on your Thursday evening. We just got a report in the chat, though. Thank you so much for the information. Diego is actually away from home, racing on a laptop and using a controller for today's race. That's why the speed's not there for Diego Valle, trying to get some help. And oh no, he's not helping in that form. Contact bounced around into Altus, Bryant Chu, right in front of second place runner of Kyle Bowling. And they keep it together. A little bit of a scare, major loss time for the 44. And are they happy that they're still keeping it straight for now.
That is a heart-stopping moment right there, Sam. We thought maybe that was our yellow. Is Bowling coming to pit road here? That's interesting stop for him. He's pulled off right in front of Valle. But yeah, Valle, you can see having a tough time keeping that thing straight. I mean, it just shows you the difficulty of driving on a controller. And someone like June White, that's why I think it's really impressive that he does drive on a controller as well as he does.
Yeah, June White, one of the controller drivers that we get to see here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Also on Wednesday nights, WSSR, their points leader currently as a controller driver is Shane Terrian, and the controllers seem to be a lot more out. It's a comfortability, I believe, when you hear from drivers. If you're not used to it, it is a very jarring racing experience because you can turn the wheel instantly with using a joystick. But you also, if you're not smooth with your adjustments, you can spin out aggressively or have major spills and get in the way, like we saw there for Diego Valle. But luckily, he is okay. They should be fine. And whew, this is certainly one of those hold your breath moments as the pit cycle is underway. Kyle Bowling, how well is this undercut going to work? Is it going to be better than the first pit stop? Drivers that are still trying to gain as much time as possible. You got the 23 of Dylan Grimm up 14 positions with some drivers in front of him pitting. But Dylan Grimm, this is kind of similar to what he did the last couple of weeks of be patient, move forward, be aggressive initially, take those spots back that you didn't grab for qualifying.
You're exactly right. I mean, he's had some amazing runs in these races to really come through the field, and he can just string some qualifying together. I think this 23 could have some really impressive races because, again, his pace is really not far off from a lot of people. So I think this 23 cleans up that qualifying. We could see him maybe look to get a win and get himself into those playoffs.
Try to get into the playoff picture if possible. Other drivers that are coming into pit road, I don't think Thomas Ogle was expecting that type of a run. He came in flying with the closing rate on the 23. Luckily, didn't make contact. Other drivers, though, into pit road. Nate Lynch, and as well leaving pit road currently is James McRae, as we're now down to our top 13 drivers still needing to come into pit road. The one that we have circled up, Ross Tatum. Can he get to that magic number, Zach? In one lap is the number we're looking for. Turn this race into just a one-stop for himself as James Lowe hits pit road for what should be his second to last pit stop.
Well, Sam, as Lowe comes to pit road, I'm thinking 97. That's got to be the money mark for Ross Tatum. If he gets to 97, that right there, 48 laps to go in the race. If he gets to 98, it's way better. So 98 to 97 for Ross Tatum, I think that's where you're going to see the farthest extent of someone go run their pit out here.
Trying to close in the gap that they can. Scott Ricker going to be out on track as Lowe, Whirl, as well as Kreitz, Offerman all making their pit stops. Scott Ricker now coming into pit road for the 05. And you got to make sure, as this is for a lot of the drivers hitting pit road, they still have one more pit stop to take before this race is done. Cannot afford to get a black flag for coming into pit road too fast, nor get caught speeding while driving down pit road, as the pit limit is 50 miles per hour on the faster end of pit road speeds that you can go, but you easily can get caught in trouble if you're not paying attention in time.
It really can get you in trouble for sure, Sam. And we're watching June White here, the 09. He went 46 laps. Like I said, he would need to stretch it 3 laps on each to add it to his next 2 stints here to, be able to get this done here. Been watching him, and he didn't gain much time also on those fresher tires staying out much longer, people. He has been clutching this whole entire time, just like Ross Tatum has. This 09 might be electing to try to get to that 2-stop strategy, but I think it's going to be much tougher for him to do than Ross Tatum, of course, because Tatum going 3 extra laps compared to the 09.
Goes to the outside, trying to get by his teammate as Diego Valle just trying to make his way through this race. He's been a tough one And a huge thank you for our chatter for giving us that information on what's going on with Diego as June White. And we would think back to last season, the second half of the season, we were completely in shock and awe of watching June White pop into the series. And he was known for being one of the best at fuel saving and being quick up front and doing a mixture of both that is very difficult to master. The 09 needed to find that little bit of extra fuel saving magic if he wants to find himself in a victory lane, because Ross Tatum 9.2 seconds off of June White, but in a very comfortable position that we know that the 21 should be able to make it. So again, that magic number of lap 97 to 98 is the window we're looking for if you want to turn this race into a one stop from here.
He's gonna have to get to that point for sure, and we'll see if he can do it. And speaking of June White, he wouldn't looking at the math wise, he would need to do one run 50 laps and one run 49. So we've seen Ross Tatum go 49, and he did have a pace lap extra to, equate to, as we see here. The clutching going on still, as the fuel saving is at the maximum level right here for these drivers out that have still stayed out. This is gonna be tough for White to get into that two-stop strategy stand. 50 laps, that's hard to do, I think.
And it's extremely hard, but another driver that's hoping to do the same strategies to see the hands really shaking for the 09 to straighten out off the exit of the corner. Dylan Grimm in second position, 4 seconds off of June White. Thinking about maybe trying to do a similar thing, stretch the fuel out as far as you can. And we're down to just 3 drivers that are still needing to come to pit road. Other drivers that have already gotten passed by those that have done a 3-stop. Kyle McCoy in 4th position is just 5.5 seconds off of Ross Tatum. But again, McCoy needing to pit at least one more time. It's Dylan Grimm into pit road.
Grimm hitting pit road here, and he goes 47 laps for him right there. So that shows me 47 is very, very doable when it comes to just running straight up. If Ross again can get to that 98 mark, that puts him in the 47 bracket. I think he can run pretty much all out almost to the end, as now White comes in after 47 laps himself.
Was not able to stretch the fuel out. Needed a couple of more laps. It's not there. Instead, we keep our eyes on Ross Tatum, who's going to take the lead spot. Kyle McCoy trying to run down this 21 machine. Zach Wright's going to be splitting to the inside, but Ross Tatum, again, stretched the fuel out further than anyone else on that first stint. It is the one driver that could be turning this race into a 2-stop, while the rest of the field aiming for a 3-stop strategy here tonight. And McCoy is going to be in an interesting position, because the reasoning why he's closing in, trying to keep it close with Ross Tatum, but Kyle McCoy, he's going to have to pit maybe just a couple of laps later than Ross Tatum, have that tire advantage, or he could pit just a lap after Ross. The timing could be perfect for the 7 machine.
It really could be here. This is going to be interesting. The gap that Tatum now has to Lowe here is only 2.7 seconds. Lowe will be passing him here in, a mere lap or two, and Ross has still got to at least go another full lap here, and maybe even one more after that to make him feel much more confident on the fuel. This is the time I think Ross has given up might not come back around. This might be the worst strategy, or the non-preferred strategy to be on now looking at it, but we'll just have to see how it plays out with how fast these guys have now closed in with the fresh tires.
Ross Tatum now is inside that window where he could make this run work for himself. Hit here, you can make it to the end. James Lowe, though, and Kyle McCoy, with how close they are to the 21, they could pit a lap after or wait until a couple laps, a lap sooner. But the 21 stays low, gives the lead position back to Lowe. Lowe is going. Ross Tatum into pit road. And now the gamemanship is on. Ross Tatum can make it from here, but he's going to have to save a couple of more laps. Lowe, McCoy, they can stretch it out couple of more laps, be solid on fuel, and make that final pit stop.
This is going to be fun to watch right here, folks. I'll tell you that. And the thing that I'm looking at now is, if I'm McCoy or if I'm Lowe, I might implement a little bit earlier of a stop here just to make sure I run that 21 back down, knowing that he's now in the range to make it. But again, he's got to go 48 laps like he just did right there. And at the pace he was running, he was well off the pace. He had to save the whole time just to make those 48 laps. I think James Lowe is still going to be in the prime position here with just the tires overall working better.
Bowling is now down after doing a 4-lap undercut to James Lowe. Is 2.7 seconds off, gained by Kyle McCoy. Thomas Ogle is 8.5 seconds back, so the strategy looks to be Kyle Bowling might have to do an undercut and hope that James Lowe maybe pits a lap after, so that minimizes the undercut times and he could fight back. But the 99 looks to be in the better strategy, even with Ross Tatum saving a full and taking away a full pit stop. It just isn't looking like the numbers are lining up perfectly. 100 laps into the books, 45 still to go. And for us, we're going to take our final commercial break. When we come back, expecting the final pit stops. Where will drivers be lined up for the last stint here at that of the South Beach Bash at Homestead, Miami? We'll find out. Stars to Stretch Racing League. It's been a good one so far. We'll be back right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom. Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As that
running for back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and
my
to the
goodness!
line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Apromitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaking Fast Broadcasting. We're currently giving you the coverage of the Stars and Stripes Racing League. Tonight's race number 8 of Season 7 in the South Beach Bash at Homestead, Miami. Currently, James Lowe leading the way, but the rest of the field still need to take one more pit stop before the race is done. The only drivers that have made a pit stop and are good to take it to the end are going to be Ross Tatum, as well as Joshua Altus, Brian Burchett, and Diego Valle. And now entering pit road and getting done with his services, Kyle McCoy. Rest of the field still needs to make a stop. And looking at the numbers, James Lowe looking like the heavy favorite. If you're just joining us, well, it's a perfect time to start watching. We've been clean and green all throughout tonight. It was a strategy call of do you take a 2-stop and save fuel dramatically throughout the night, or a 3-stop and maximize your speed. Currently, it looks like the 3-stop strategy is the one to take this evening. If we stay green, it's going to be the key thing for tonight's race. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up at the booth was Zach Hall, as well as Rob Moore Jr. in the productions chair. And Zach, this race certainly all eyes on James Lowe. Could tonight finally be the race that he breaks into the win column?
It's going to take a lot to stop that, I think. This 99 has just been on rails, man. He's just continuing to pull away every single lap. He can pit later than people just due to his gap that he has, and it's allowing him just to continue to build on his race here he has. So great job by him. And you're seeing June White here. He's kind of trying to storm back through. He just passed the 18, the Brian Chu, who is 1 lap down. But White here still got 5 seconds up the road to Jason Gratton. And the problem for White is he stayed out super long, I think, trying to maybe make the fuel work for the 2-stop, and then realized it was not going to happen, had to come to pit road. So he'll still need to hit pit road one more time also, and has gave up a ton of time in that sequence of just staying out that much longer.
Yeah, a lot of time thrown away, and now you're just going to salvage what you can get. 4 drivers have hit pit road. It can be Zach Breitz and Andrew Hess that have made their pit stop. Christian Loschin, haven't talked about the 3 all night long, qualified in 10th, fell back, and was outside the top 10 for the majority of the run, but now in a position where a top 10 finish could be in the wings for the 3, who again has been having some good qualifying runs. It's been the race pace. It's kind of been the struggle for the 3, but tonight looking to be as good. Just keeping your head just, outside of the drama and having a solid day is the 3 of Loschin.
Sometimes you just want your name not to be brought up too many times. That means you're usually having a good day and flying under the radar, and that's kind of what the 3 has done here tonight. So good job on Christian here. Looks like we got some more pit stops happening. Thomas Ogle, our pole setter, he is on pit road along with Jason Gratton in the 8. So the 11 and the 8 machine bringing it on down here and getting service done with their cars as we're now nearing that 40 to go mark. Or sorry, 30 to go mark.
With 30 laps to go, do you make your pit stop now and just rip it from here? Don't worry about saving your tires or fuel. You just take off. James Lowe, Kyle McCoy, Scott Rickard, they have been the front drivers all night long. Same with Chris Worrell and June White. They've been the top 5. Who is going to hit pit road first of these 5 drivers? Right now, the gaps are so massive between all 5 of these guys that it's really, you come into pit road, you might not even be able to pass the next driver unless you're able to extend and stay out on track for an extra 5 to 10 laps sooner than everyone else. And for James Lowe, also has to have in mind of, I have to run down Ross Tatum. Yes, Ross Tatum is still 1 lap down, but he's still in the fuel mileage run, is going to have a gap over the 99. How much time are you willing to give up before you have to run down the 21 machine?
That's a good question to be had here, as we're seeing Lowe come off a 4 there, a little bit on the loose side there for him, but loose is fast, as they would say. So the 99 is doing a great job all night long, and he's got a lot more wiggle room to play with, but like you said, he's got to run down that 21 Ross Tatum. I don't think the gap is going to be very far out for him, especially with the fresh tires. I think it's going to be a pretty easy running down phase. The thing he's going to hope for is just no caution happens during that sequence to allow people to jump him in track position wise. And 99 just going to look to stay clean. And look, I like this. An early stop here. This is very, very smart from this team here to come down with about 30 to go.
Take it easy. Just hit your marks. Not trying to be aggressive on the pit entry. Just trying to make sure he knows, hey, I've got plenty of wiggle room behind me and in front of me. Just hit my marks, and I'll find myself most likely in victory lane. Kyle Bowling, though, going to be still out on track for the 44 machine, who, at the time of that pit stop, 5 seconds off of Lowe. How long will the 44 decide to stay out? Scott Ricker, Chris Worrell, a lot of drivers need to make the decision of, I'm going to pit now, as Aaron Hale, Derek Offerman joined with Nate Lynch and James Lowe to make this most recent pit stop. And the gap between James Lowe, Ross Tatum, going to be an interesting thing to watch out for, as Lowe is just leaving pit road now, as Ross Tatum is just past that 99 machine.
Looks like it's going to be about 3, maybe 4 or 5 seconds separating those two. And personally, I'm going to take about 5 to 10 laps before that 99 most likely catches this 21. And I think even before we maybe even sequence through all the way, this 99 might be past the 21. So Ross is going to be saying, oh, man, it just didn't work. But you got to give it to him. I mean, he's got the wins this season to back it up. He can go for this strategy and attempt something kind of off the wall that we've seen work in the past.
I mean, it just feels like this has been Ross Tatum's MO this whole entire season. He won the first 2 races. He was already locked in to the playoffs. He's the regular season champion, and he's just been willing to gamble at every race since then, and it's been fun to watch and see the gambling by this 21 to go for the off-the-ball strategies. I mean, and it's been working well some weeks. Other weeks it traps him in a bad strategy where he has a net loss. Tonight, looking to still potentially be a top 5 finish, just not the winning one that he was hoping that it was going to be. As the drivers ramp up to speed, that last lap, it was James Lowe was 3 seconds back. He's now down to 1 second. This was about to be made a pass, either this lap or the next, which should be who's going to be the leader once this pit cycle goes completely through, as we're still waiting on that of Scott Rickard, Chris Worrell, June White, and Dylan Grimm to make their pit stop to be the last before this race is over.
That's got to be so deflating for Ross, knowing that, man, I did everything I needed to do fuel mileage saving wise, and was personally in a pretty good position with even just how much time he gave up on the first run of the race to go 49 laps. To have this 99 going by you already before it even cycles through, it's just tough to see, because now you still have to save fuel. You still got to make those old 23 or 22 lap old tires make it all the way to the end also. So the bleeding is just not going to stop. He's just going to have to hope for some of these drivers may make mistakes and give up some time that allows him to get a top 10 night hours.
And we move up to our leader, Chris Worrell, still needing to come into pit road. Same for June White, Dylan Grimm, and Scott Rickard has made his stop into pit road. Same for Sam Siegel, as we got ourselves around out of 8 drivers still need to make their pit stops as Worrell enters pit road. A little aggressive for the 9, but trying to minimize the speed so he doesn't have to worry about battling the likes of June White or Dylan Grimm once they come into pit road, as June White stays out for another lap. And now comes into the fun aspect of this race, Zach, because if you look at the past, there's always been at least one caution here at Homestead. And for June White, if he's going to be in a position to win this, he might just stretch it out and hope and bank for a yellow flag to come out.
I think that's what he's going to do. I completely agree with you, Sam. I mean, he pits now or in this next 5-10 laps range. I mean, yeah, he can go get a top 10 day, but I think he's looking for a win. He wants the big prize at the end of the day. That's what all drivers do, and I think he knows that's his only shot, so he'll probably stretch it here far. I think even Dylan Grimm, he'll probably look to do the same. So those top 2 right now, still 10 seconds out for June White to James Lowe. But I just think White not going to look to pit here anytime soon, knowing that if he pits now, it's just going to be for a loss overall in this race.
And for June White and for Dylan Grimm, both can stretch it out to around 5 laps to go is the window that they can stretch it out until they're going to be around empty in their gas tanks. So we got still quite a while to go before they think about a pit stop, which also puts some strain on the drivers deeper in the field. We've seen a little bit of action of drivers losing the rear end. Diego Valle, when we were talking about the fact that he's not running on his normal setup, almost was involved with the wreck. So everyone is crossing their fingers, hoping that they can get to the end of this race. And James Lowe is the biggest one of them all because he doesn't want to have another race win slip through his fingers like it's been the last couple of weeks, as Dylan Grimm kind of in no man's land for a moment here, but it's not going to last very long because Lowe seemed coming into the picture. That 99 is flying.
Yeah, he'll be there in about a corner or two here in ring 3. So they're in the 1 right now. Turn 3, he will be all over the back bumper of that 23 and probably passing him out of 4. Just the closing rate is that fast with the fresh tires. And I mean, Lowe loving what he's seeing right now. The only thing he wants to see, though, is a checker flag. He does not want to see any other flag before that other than a white flag, because if he sees a yellow flag, he knows he's going to have to go back to work for this. If it stays green, he's in the catbird seat to pull this off. And got to even give a huge credit and a huge shout out, I think, to Kyle McCoy. We talked about his early pit stop and, coming down pit road and doing the undercuts. I think he's been almost on somewhat of an optimal strategy. I think that first pit stop was early for sure, but I think that 37 to 38 range would have been where most folks optimally would have pit. It's just you don't want to pit that early due to the fact of just hoping there's no yellow that catches you out, so you usually stretch it a little farther. But I think that was like the optimal range, and I think Kyle McCoy might be able to pull off a top 3 here. I think it's very possible for him to do that. He's going to have to hold back the likes of Bowling and Scott Rickard, though.
Yeah, that's going to be the tough thing. And also have to be worried as James McRae holds on the outside as the BVZ machine rips the top end, trying to get by as quickly as he can on the slightly fresher tires is James McRae, but not able to get the exit speed the 17 wants, as well as being 1 lap down. This is not for position. And for Kyle McCoy, this is hurting him more than anything. Staying side by side instead of just letting the 17 go, but sometimes you get in those racing states and maybe you've been running around by yourself for too long. You want to get elbows out type of racing before the night's done.
This right here will probably make Kyle McCoy pull his hair out a little bit. Just say, come on, 17, you got the fresher tires. You got to get by me and go, because the more we race side by side here, the slower it makes you. And he can't just lift and roll over for him either, because, I mean, that's just giving up time itself. And right there, finally, McRae does clear him, and that's going to be his best hope there, is that McRae gets down the racetrack and doesn't cause any issues for him, because Bowling only going to be 2.5 seconds back now, as he's just got past Ross Tatum there, we've seen on screen. And then about another 3 seconds behind that, you're going to have Scott Rickard coming into this group. So I think it's going to be the battle between Rickard and McCoy when it comes down to the end of the day for that 3rd position, because I think Ogle, a little bit fresher tires than McCoy, but I just don't think he'll have the pace advantage to run him down.
And as well, the battle for the lead. There's a lap car in between our leader and 2nd place, being Zach Kreitz. As Kreitz 15th position, he's right where he qualified for the 46 machine. He's kind of staying stable on where he's been at with all the strategy calls that have been thrown around. Dylan Grimm exiting pit road, going to be back in 15th position, giving that spot to Zach Kreitz. But James Lowe is going to be about a couple laps away from taking the lead position, and June White, even if staying out, most likely will not have the lead. But for June White, he's got to be careful, because there is lap traffic battling right in front of our leader that he's hoping he doesn't get involved with.
He does not want to get in that mix for sure. I mean, he wants a caution, but he does not want to be a part of that caution. So he's hoping to get through this grouping here nice and clean. As he got past Brian Burchett, the next car would be Joshua Altis, who's on that 2-stop strategy on very, very old tires. A little bit fresher than June White, but having to save more fuel than June to make sure he makes it to the end here. As White's closing it down, but you can look in the mirror for just a moment, because Lowe off of 4, I think, is going to be looking down into turn 1 most likely.
Low goes low, and June White trying to hold steady on the white line, but it's not going to work out. He's going to break slightly loose, losing momentum off the exit of the corner. And June White doesn't have to worry about seeing the 09 come into pit road. Lowe is there and ready to take the lead position back. And this 99 machine been the most dominant driver since he took the lead position in those first 15 laps, and he has never looked back once. James Lowe, the rookie that we knew had an opportunity. We had a good class of rookie drivers show up for this season, and trying to become the first rookie this season to get a win. And I think James Lowe, Chris Worrell, those were the top 2 that we had a feeling were going to be the drivers to get into victory lane of our rookie class. And Lowe looks to be, it took him 8 races to be in a position where he's at right now, just hoping this race stays green.
This is a huge moment for this rookie. It's always that first win that gets the ball rolling. It always seems like it takes the most work to get the first one. Once you get that one, it just builds confidence from there. And the 99 definitely trying to build off of that after, leading so many laps this season. And you can see here, Bolin, he got around that 7. No hard work for him. Now back into that 3rd position for him, and gonna try to get past June White here before White has to hit pit road. But McCoy now with about 2.5 seconds back to Rickard. I think Rickard can run him down. I think it's just going to be a battle coming down really the last 5 laps between those two.
It's going to be close, but I think Rickard's got it as well. I think the closest battles you're going to watch out for is Chris Worrell also trying to run down, and Thomas Ogle. They're going to do their best to catch up to the 7 machine. We'll see if Kyle McCoy can even have a top 5 finish at the end of the day as the laps continue to clock down. And we're into that kind of unknown zone. In previous races, it was 133 laps ran here at the mile-and-a-half courses. Instead, they added and tacked on some extra laps. And Zach, got to say, those extra laps certainly did put the tension on who's going to win this race, because it allowed James Lowe to be in that better position right now to be up front and going for this win. Chris Worrell trying to close in the gap. It'll be 2.6 seconds away from Scott Rickard, who is also 5 seconds away from Kyle McCoy. So it's going to be close at the end. Runs are on who's going to get the best spots with 10 laps to go.
You're exactly right about that, Sam. It's on right here. Everybody's going for it. And the thing for Worrell is, they pit so late. Him and Scott Rickard, they can push all the way to the end of this race. There's no save in that 05 and the 6 machine. They're going to be quickly catching up to the 7. And Scott Rickard already, we can see it. It's literally under a second now. 0.7 of a second coming off a 2 for Rickard. He's going to be on Kyle McCoy's back bumper really here within the next lap. And then from there, we'll see can Worrell run him down. At this point, like you said, it may only be a fifth place position that McCoy can pull off, especially with June White having to pit.
June White have to come into pit road. Scott Rickard is closing in the gap. Now going to be about a lap away from making this pass, if not sooner. Chris Worrell is going to be about 5 to 6 laps away. And then Thomas Ogle, maybe on the white flag, might be able to make the pass. As Scott Rickard pushes the 7 to 5th place. Worrell now on the charge. Can the 6 grab this 5th place position and continue to move forward? As other updates for drivers, Ross Tatum, who thought he was in the winning strategy, Zach, a top 10 run, that is looking to be where he's going to hold off. 9th place, 6 seconds back from Chris Lotchen. And Lotchen's going to be trying his best to close in the gap, but I think that's going to be staying stable with Ross in 9th place if the numbers continue to line up the way that they are with 8 laps to go.
It could get close on that final couple laps, but yeah, it looks like 9th attempt for this 21. Don't think the 54 is going to be able to catch him. Andrew Hess, who's back in 11th, who's another 6 seconds behind Lotchen. So at the end of the day, Ross is going to be down from where he qualified, so he's going to probably be a little disappointed in the strategy, but he has the ability to play these strategies, and he went for it. You got to credit the man for going for it, and he went and tried a different strategy out here tonight. It's just not going to play out in his favor, and it's just something you'll take in your notebook for the rest of the season. These are learning moments here in the regular season. No reason not to try something like this, where when it comes to playoffs, you'll know what you want to do.
Yeah, and there's future races where we're going to be going to the mile-and-a-half tracks that are going to be having, again, this 140-some lap type of race. I'm thinking about in about a month or so, we're going to be heading to Atlanta. That's going to be 146 laps in total for that race. And any other races moving forward going to be interesting to watch on how much fuel mileage data can you take in, as Diego Valle trying to just survive with James Lowe making the pass on the 68 machine. Each lap ticking away. 6, about to be 5 laps to go, as the gap between first and second is ballooned out to 6 seconds in total. June White still out there on track. Very impressive by the 09, but he'll have to hit pit road here very shortly. And it's all down to the 99. If we get a caution with 5 laps to go, we head into overtime where the 99, most likely we'll see a lot of strategy calls of who comes into pit road or not if we get that caution.
It would be a lot of different strategies all over the board. People will be doing definitely some interesting things, to say the least. if we do get some type of a yellow here, but not focusing on that one bit. It all is this 99 as he comes off a turn 4, and we're looking for 4 mere laps to go here. And June White now getting passed for second for Kyle Bowling. I think he'll have to hit pit road, not this time by, but the next time by.
It's been incredible to see drivers on all their strategy calls on how you were going to set up this race. Some, they knew right from the rip it was a 2-stop strategy like Ross Tatum and Joshua Altus and Diego Valle. Others, they were trying to figure out how do you maybe evolve, you change up the call of turning this race from a 3-stop potentially into a 2-stop. It didn't work for those drivers who had to try to make that audible call, but those that stayed stable, like James Lowe, Kyle Bowling, Scott Rickard, they stuck to their guns. They said, I'm going to go for a 3-stop. We're going to push it pretty far out on the first stint. Then we'll figure out where we want to place ourselves later on in those final 2 stops. And with 3 laps to go, it's basically 2.5 now. James Lowe is looking confident for himself now into turn 3.
Looking good so far here, Sam. He just wants to get back to a white flag here. So we coming out of 4. It's going to be 2 mere laps to go. And all he wants is a clean and green run to the end, because this machine has been so close to winning multiple times already this season, led laps at multiple different tracks, and it's really been these mile and a halves that I think this 99 has shown out, and it could be this mile and a half here at Homestead where he gets his first career victory.
Trying to get by Ryan Lynch in 19th position, setting the 31, 2 laps down, and through 3 and 4, James Lowe ripping the top, trying to still make this pass as Ryan Lynch is going to make it a little bit more of a fight as they hit that of the front stretch. It is your freaky fast white flag in the air. James Lowe doesn't have to worry about a yellow anymore as he's just got to sit comfortable. He's got a great gap to work with for this 99.
Great gap, like you said, no pressure. Just bring it back to the checkered flag here for this 99 team, and they will be in victory lane, Sam.
James Lowe goes into the final corners, the final bends here at the South Beach Bash at Homestead, Miami. Exiting out of turn number 4. Make the rookie first ever win in the Stars and Stripes Racing League. James Lowe, winner here at Homestead. And it took him 8 races, and it's just been a fabulous run this season. Now going to be his 5th top 10, his 3rd top 5, and first win of the season, booking his ticket into the playoffs.
Wow, what a job by James Lowe. But June White goes 51 laps on that last run, guys. 51. I don't even know how.
I believe he ran out of fuel coming across the line. He was clutching it all the way through, and it just buttered out on the entry of turn 1. What a run by that of June White. And he was one of the few drivers. He's known for the fuel strategy runs. Top 3. Great job for that 09 machine. But it's the 99. James Lowe getting to burn it down. Congratulations to the rookie. For us up at the booth, we will step away for a quick moment. Enjoy the burnout. We'll talk to our top 3. James Lowe, Kyle Bowling, June White, and a spotlight driver for our post-race show right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the Stars and Stripes Racing League. Tonight's race at Homestead, Miami. It was the South Beach Bash, where drivers had certainly a lot of different decisions to make on who was going to get into victory lane. And it was the great call, the incredible speed of the 99 of James Lowe who gets himself into victory lane. Congratulations, James, on getting the win, your first one in the Stars and Stripes Racing League and the first one of this season. How are you feeling after that incredible run here tonight?
First off, appreciate it. And man, I'm feeling over the moon. After the last few weeks, it seems like the caution bug always caught me out, and just my bad strategies or whatever caught me out. So I've been fast, but tonight, no caution, so had nothing to slow me down there. So just tried to run a consistent pace, and it's worked out.
Yeah, you definitely had the consistent pace there, James. I mean, it was short run, mid run, long run pace all around for you tonight, man. And you bring it up about you being fast at all the other races. I mean, you've led a lap in every single race except for Daytona to start the season. So to get the win finally now, how does it feel? And do you think this is a huge momentum boost for you heading into the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think it's like we've been fast every week. Just circumstances, you can't really help that. But tonight, just everything fell into place, and now we got we got that off our back. So maybe we can go out and get us some more and get Chris a win, and see if we can get Brian Chu up there and get a win, and see how we could do with George, and just try to keep churning along as a team and do as good as we can.
I mean, James, like you've been saying, it's been almost there so many times. The caution flags have been kind of taken away from your great runs in the past. How are you feeling like you can take away from this race and past races to move forward? Are there any kind of things that you're noticing with this car that's different that you have to translate to each track you go to?
Well, this car just kind of fits my style. I'm not really heavy on the throttle, so I like these cars where you got to control it, and so it just kind of fits me. But the first couple races, I was a little rusty. I hadn't raced these cars in a long time, so I had to get used to them again. But yeah, going forward, we'll see how it goes. But we got some good tracks coming up. But we got Motegi coming up. I don't even own that track, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it should be okay.
Well, we're excited to see how you're going to perform moving throughout the seasons, James. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'd like to thank my aunt Mary Alice for watching. I know she's out there. She watches me every week, and say what's up to her, and hope I did her proud. Thanks ButtKicker, thanks Next Level Racing, and Nate for letting me come in and race with these guys. And I mean, shout out to all the drivers tonight. I mean, that was a lot to control for all those laps, and we all did it cleanly there. So that was impressive.
Very impressive. Another clean and green race, no cautions. Congratulations on this win, James, and good luck in these future races.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys.
That's the 99 of James Lowe, winner here tonight at Homestead. And from Victory Lane, we go to second place to Kyle Bowling, a past winner at this racetrack. Showed some speed, but was not able to catch up that 99. Kyle, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on second. Man, you had some good speed there, but what else did you maybe need here tonight to try to run with that 99?
I needed to duplicate what I did in the first run. I saved tires really well. I guess I probably had some good pacers in front of me. I was like 7th or 8th for a while, and then able to pace off those guys. Because by the end of the run, I was even with 99. But after that first run, I couldn't duplicate that saving tires like I did the first time. So that made it for a rough race. But it got to the point basically the last run. It's like, okay, I'm not racing 99 anymore. I'm racing everybody else. I just didn't worry about him anymore. It was fighting for second, not first anymore.
Definitely still a strong run for you, Kyle. First top 3 of the season, man. So congrats on that. Great run here at Homestead. And, the strategies were interesting too, especially with the timing of pit stops. I mean, did you have a set strategy coming in here tonight, or were you kind of letting it come to you at the fly? Because we've seen some guys elect to do the 2-stop, and some, like you guys, did the 3.
I was always on the 3-stop, but I just didn't know when I was going to do it. Like first run, I got to the end of that run. I kind of went to turn 3. I looked at my mirror. I saw no one on tires coming behind me. I was like, all right, time to go. I want to worry about getting run over or nothing. And then after that, it was just kind of, I tried short pitting to see if I could get an edge to try to get to the lead, and that didn't really work at all. And so I kind of took it longer for the second to last run there, and that worked well enough to get back to second. That's really all my goal was at that point. It was just I could not keep the tires on it like I did the first run. That's ultimately what got me.
Well, still a very solid day for yourself, Kyle. With the season now officially into the second half of our regular season, how are you feeling you're going to be able to translate some of this momentum that you've been gaining to these future races to set up for the playoffs?
Just gotta finish races out. Had a lot of near misses this season. Just for poorly timed cautions, which that's what I was waiting for tonight to happen again. Should have been top 3 at Bristol. Should have been top 5 at Vegas. There's a bunch of races where I should have been finishing better than I did, and it's just gotta finish these races out. For whatever reason, I've tended to be someone who kind of gets stronger as the season goes on. Really don't know why that is, because it's not like it's not really going to tracks that I get better at. It's just for whatever reason I run more consistent as the season goes on. So I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing here. I know we're doing really well in points right now. I think I got a 1 race gap back to the cutoff, but there's still 7 races to go, so there's way too much time left to feel comfortable.
That is very true. Well, Kyle, again, congratulations on second place. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours.
Well, thanks to you guys for putting on a good broadcast. I always hope I get to come in and do the interview after the race, and thanks to all the league runners for putting on a really fun league. It's been a good one this year.
That it has. That's going to be your second place finisher in the 44 machine of Kyle Bowling. Congratulations and good luck next week.
Thank you.
From second place, we'll head down to third, where we talked about fuel strategy runs. And this run might have been one of the more bizarres. Stretch it out the furthest from anyone. Didn't think it was possible, but it got done. June White coming away third place. June, congratulations on third. I mean, the ultimate question, how did you save enough fuel to get a third place there at the end?
I was clutching it on like the start finish line at the front stretch, and a little bit earlier than that for the back stretch. For like 30 at the end. I was clutching it on the start finish line at the front stretch, and then a little bit before where it would have been on the a little bit before that on the back stretch.
Well, that was an excellent job to save that much fuel, man. We did not think that was going to be possible, so congrats on that, June. I mean, looking at your stats coming into tonight, man, the qualifying has been unreal. I mean, an average start of a 2.14. You got an average finish, though, at 9.57. What do you think you got to change to bring that speed that you've had in qualifying to bring it to the race results?
I mean, honestly, I think we've had a top 5 car literally every week. So it's just sometimes you get caught up in wrecks, sometimes you get caught up in stuff. And you like Pocono, for example, had that speeding penalty. I mean, I think we have the speed. It's just sometimes the strategy doesn't work out.
Certainly, we do see your speed. Like I said, qualifying has been incredible to see where you start out for these races, June. But we're now officially in the second half of the regular season. How are you feeling like the rest of this season is going to set up for you to try to have the momentum for the playoffs?
Oh, I'm first of all, I'm happy that I made this race, because it was looking like I wasn't going to be able to, and I just barely made it. I just barely made it. So I was kind of worried I might have to miss the next race as well. Had to miss the last race, and thought I really had a good car for that one. So just it makes the playoff math a lot easier. So I'm happy that I can just that got these 35-40 points for this race, and not really worried about missing playoffs now. So just about executing in the playoff races that we do have, not making any major mistakes, and just putting ourselves in the final 4. And I know that if we get to Auto Club, we have a really good car.
You certainly look like one of the favorites to watch out for, June. We cannot wait to see how you're going to perform these upcoming weeks. Congratulations on third, and before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out my teammates as always. They've been helping me out since the first day that I joined the league. Joined the league as a replacement for Brian, and every strategy call, just everything that we do as a team. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I know they got my back, I got their back, and I just love being able to just sit down and you know, trade thoughts with them and just learn from a group of guys that's that good.
It's an extremely strong team that you have there, June, and it helped out tonight. Congratulations on third, and good luck in the future races.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, that's going to be the 09 of June White coming away with a third place finish. And now we're going to head to our spotlight driver, middle of the field for this interview. But we thought it'd be a good talking point to Nate Lynch for ourselves. Nate, in the 25 machine, you come away 12th. Man, how are you feeling after tonight? Another no caution race. This league is so impressive on that factor of you guys get these clean races. But how are you feeling after a top 15 run?
Pretty good. Didn't know what to expect. I was having VR issues and I never really got much practice in, but yeah, I settled in, and yeah, the cars were not easy to drive tonight. But yeah, over the entire race, 145 laps, 2 incidents we had out of the entire bunch, so that's pretty good.
It definitely is pretty good, Nate. I tell you, man, great job out there tonight, keeping your car clean. You know, what was it like keeping up with the strategy? Because we were trying to follow it up here, and we were, you know, confused that the 2-stop was going to work or a 3-stop. Where were you sitting at entering the night? Did you have it kind of planned out?
I kind of, well, like I said, I didn't get much practice, so I kind of went for the 2, but then I was like, there's no way you're going to keep the pace up and do it under 2. So I went with 3. But yeah, we've kind of mixed it up with the lap lengths on these races, these 1.5 miles, because it definitely had you thinking tonight with the extra. We had an extra set of tires and the longer laps. It kind of shuffled things up a little bit. So there was a lot of guys doing different things.
I mean, the shuffle was certainly interesting and fun to see from our perspective on how this race was going to translate. But like I said, you're kind of changing things up, moving forward into the rest of the season. How are you feeling about the rest of the season as we're in the second half of the regular season? And are there any tracks that you're circling up saying, that's a track I'm excited to go to?
Usually Atlanta. I love Atlanta. Yeah, we've kind of hit some of the ones I like already. The twin track, that one's going to be interesting in Martinsville. We haven't done Martinsville for a while, and that other track is a new one. In New Hampshire, we have only done once, so it's going to be some new ones. So we'll see what happens. But I'm just trying to get the top 10s, top 15s, and move on.
Well, we hope that this type of a run continues forward and helps you maybe crack into those playoff positions. Nate, congratulations on 12th, and before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours.
Thanks to everybody in the league just putting on the clean races. It makes for fun races each night when you don't have so many cautions. My team, Next Level Racing, and ButtKicker, and of course you guys putting on the best broadcast out there.
Well, thank you very much, Nate. Congratulations on 12th, and good luck next week.
Thank you. See you guys next week.
Well, that's going to be Nate Lynch in the 25 machine, going to be our spotlight driver, as we got to talk to some amazing groups, our top 3 and Nate. Everyone probably ecstatic on the fact that we got to see a clean race, which is so well known to happen in this series. I mean, Zach, look back to last season, they had around 7 to 8 races that went clean and green all the way through, not even accounting for the road courses that usually don't throw out a yellow. And this is another night of perfection on staying clean and on track.
No surprise for me, Sam. I mean, the ARC car I feel like it's a little bit easier to do, but this Gen 4 car to go clean and green here, especially in a tough Homestead Miami track like this, just a test to, again, the skill of this league and the great job by everybody to, you know, race with the mindset that this is a 145 lap race, not a 10 lap race.
It's our first race to go clean and green all the way through. Congratulations to seeing June White saving the fuel, but ultimately it goes to James Lowe in the 99, getting the win here tonight as we take a look at our unofficial results. The only major incident that happened, Trey Jackson having to come into pit road after a major collision on the inside wall on the back stretch, and as well, Diego Valle having a quick scare. Besides that, it was clean, green, and it came down to strategy, where James Lowe's 3 stops worked out to get the victory. Kyle Bowling also went with a 3-stop, getting second. June White shocking the field, 2-stop strategy, and the 09 come away in third. Scott Rickard taking fourth. Chris Whirl in fifth. Kyle McCoy 6th. 7th is Thomas Ogle, who got the pole. JC Grattan in 8th place for the 8th machine. Ross Tatum ultimately was the driver we were aiming for. What was his 2-stop strategy going to work out? It did not in the best favor. 9th place was for the 21. And Christian Lashin going to get his 2nd ever top 10 finish this season. The 3, a fantastic run for himself.
Great run for Christian Lashin there for sure, Sam. But as we look through the rest of the leaderboard, definitely some different strategies all around. Joshua Altice was also on that same 2-stop strategy. He ends up in the 16th position, and other drivers had a few tough moments. Diego Valle back in 24th, he had to race with out of town with a laptop and a controller. He brings home in 24th, so tough for him. And then yeah, guys like Trey Jackson, who was really the only car to get knocked out tonight, finishing in 27th after an incident coming off of 2 about lap 48 into this race. So it was a bumpy road for some people, but a long, green, and great race here with plenty of twists and turns with strategy.
They added the extra lap stop. Maybe that was going to cause some more chaos. Instead, it gave us great strategy calls throughout the night. It was fun to document all the different strategies on who was the favorite. At one moment, we thought Ross Tatum was in the favorable spot, but as the run continued on, those last couple of pit stops flowed in. It looked to be all James Lowe. Congratulations to the 99, getting his first win for the rookie. Here's the Stars and Stripes, and thank you for joining with us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. That's the end of our week for broadcast. We got the weekend off. We will be back to give you more coverage, not on Monday, but on Tuesday. Monday, the ISRC Truck Series has taken the week off for themselves. They'll be back in 2 weeks. But on Tuesday nights, Full Send Racing Series. Wednesday, the WSSR Cup Series and the Gen 4 machines are going to be back to action for right back here next week, Kentucky. So only 3 races next week, but if you want to see when we're live and be notified, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and when you do subscribe, remember to hit that bell notification to be emailed and notified on when Freaky Fast Broadcasting is live. Either we are live most days on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Zach, certainly great racing to be prepared for.
Definitely some great racing to be prepared for, Sam. Like you said, Monday is off, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday back here, it's going to be full of action once again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. And thank you everybody who tuned in here tonight, all throughout the other nights too. It's always a pleasure to call all this action. And again, shout out to these drivers, clean and green here tonight. Very impressive to see if they can continue on that streak here heading throughout some of these next races.
Can't wait for it. Well, tonight, again, James Lowe getting the win at the South Beach Bash. Congratulations to the 99 machine, and hopefully that run and consistency can carry forward into next week's race. But for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for watching tonight's Thursday night action. And for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, cannot wait for our next broadcast. It's going to be Tuesday night, Full Send Racing Series, the Xfinity cars. Get ready to rumble on who's getting set up for the playoffs. Can't wait for it. My name is Sam Dyer, and we will see you on Tuesday night for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.